Okay, so dear student, this is your first topic in class 12, electric charge and electric field. So in class 10 we also studied a little bit about concept about electric charge and electric current. So from where we get the concept of electric charge, we know that it is mainly it comes from the concept of atom. We know that the atom is consist with two parts. One is a nucleus, which is consist with proton and neutron. Another one is a electrons. Okay, so mainly electric charge is a intensive property of a matter, or we can say that it is a physical property of a matter that causes a force when placed in an electromagnetic field. So that means when we placed a positive charge and a negative charge together inside any electric field or any magnetic field, it creates a force. Okay. So from that concept we conclude that unlike charges means positive negative or negative positive always attract each other, and like charges means positive or negative that charges always repel each other. We know this one. Okay, so that in this definition of electric charge that causes a force, this force is two types: either it will be attractive force or it will be repulsive force. And we know that repulsive is a conclusive test of a electrification. Okay, now it talks about the type of charges. We know that we have two type of electric charges. One is a positive, another one is a negative. Positive, the value of this positive charge is 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. Coulomb is a SI unit of electric charge. And for electron or negative charge, value of is minus 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. So from here we see that the value or the magnitude of the charge for positive and negative is same, only the difference is their sign. When we talks about the positive, we use the positive sign, negative we use the negative sign. Now let's talk about the mass of charges. Mass of proton is 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 27 kg, and mass of electron is 9.1 into 10 to the power minus 31 kg. Okay, so this mass, because this is a very tiny particles and they are placed inside that atoms also a tiny particle. So this proton and electron, mass of proton and electron measured by a special device that is called mass spectrometer. Okay, so now let's talk about some property of electric charge. First property we know, we also studied in class 10, that is a conservation of mass. That means the mass can neither be created nor be destroyed. It is not mass, conservation of charge. Charge can neither be created nor be destroyed. It only transfers from one body to another body. So we can say that in the universe, the total charge of a given body is always conserved or constant. Okay, this is the first property of electric charge. Second property is additive property. Additive means addition. Suppose we take a system which contains lots of electric charges. For our example, we consider three charges: 1 coulomb, 5 coulomb and 3 coulomb. So that total charge of that system is 9 coulomb. If we assume in place of 5 coulomb, that is minus 5, then the total charge of that system is minus 1 coulomb. So simply we add these charges. Now, so mathematically we can write Q. Q means the total charge of that system, that is equals to mod of Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3 if there are n number of charges, so up to Qn. So it is a additive property. Simply we add these charges. Okay. And why we use modular sign, we also studied in class 11 in vector what is a function of modulus, because sometimes here we use the positive charges, negative charges, both are present. That's why we use the modulus sign. Okay. Now the third property is quantization of electric charge. Quantization, simply the quantization means the continuity. If in any equation continuity is present, then we conclude or we say that that is a quantized equation. So how we state that property? Total charge of a body is always an integral multiple of a basic quantum charge, or in place of basic quantum charge you can write a basic electronic charge E, because for proton and electron we both are denoted by E. For proton we denoted by plus E, electron is denoted by minus E. Okay, so basic charge is E. If proton, then positive; if electron, then negative. So integral multiple number of electronic charge E. So mathematically we can write Q equals to plus minus N into E. Plus minus means either it will be proton or it will be electron. That means either it will be positive charge or the negative charge, and N stands for this integral number. N stands for 0, plus minus 1, plus minus 2, plus minus 3, anything, or 1, 2, 3 simply. Okay, so this is a quantization of electric charge, one most important property of a electric charge. Okay, now talks about the process of charging. Okay, we know that there are three types of process. One is by rubbing, another one is by induction, another one third one is by conduction. Rubbing and conduction, these two process we studied in class 7 also, little bit amount. Induction also be there. So what is by rubbing? When we rub two body against each other, we know that charges are developed inside the body, and what this type of charges can't move from one place to another place or one body to another body. That's why this type of charges are called static charges. Static means stay in one place or one point, and due to that charges, whatever the electricity or electricity is generated, that is called static electricity. That means stay in a one place. Okay, so how we understand which one get a positive charge? By rubbing process, two bodies, one get the positive charge, another one get the negative charge. There is a one electrostatic series. From that series, which one is a first position, they will get the positive charge, and the second position, they will get the negative charge. What is that electrostatic series? Now that in that series, first one is a wool. Second number is a glass. Third number is paper. Fourth one is silk. Fifth number is wood. Sixth number is ebonite. Seventh number is amber. Okay, many are there. So if we rub a glass with a silk, then what happens? Glass, the position of glass is second position and the position of silk is fourth position. So when we rub glass and silk, glass will get the positive charge and silk will get the negative charge. So from that electrostatic series, we can understand which one get the positive charge and which one get the negative charge. Now next one is by induction, and this is the most important process of charging. Induction means two body are placed very close to each other but not in a contact. Okay, so one body is a charged body, another one is a uncharged body. They are placed very closer to each other but not in a physical contact. So what happened? By the process of induction, a charge is induced inside a uncharged body, and that charge is the opposite to the charged body. This process is called induction process. So when an uncharged body object is placed very close to a charged conductor without touching, the nearer end acquires a charge opposite to the charge on the charged conductors and the two bodies attract. This is called charging by induction. Example, suppose we consider two metal sphere A and B, both are uncharged and both are mounted on insulating stand. Okay. Second number, these two are uncharged. Second number, now a negatively charged rubber balloon brought near to the sphere A. Then what happened? Very near to the sphere A, but not in a physical touch. Okay, physical contact. So by the process of induction, because this is a negatively charged object, so it induced here inside the sphere A opposite charge, that is plus, and this side inside a sphere B, because of there is a positive charges is there, so here negative charges are induced. Okay. Now these charges which is closer to this negatively charged balloon, these charges are called bound charges. These charges are called bound charges, and these charges are called free charges. Simply the reason is it is closer to this one, so force of attraction is more, and here it is a distance is more, so and mainly this is a negative, this is negative, this there is a repulsive force is present, that's why this is a free charges. Okay. Now second diagram, if we separate these two sphere, then what happened in this negative charges are uniformly spread inside the sphere B. But here, because this negative charges are present, so only this side is positive. Now if we remove this balloon, then this positive charge also uniformly spread it over inside the charge A. This is the process of induction. Next is a by conduction. Same to the induction, but one difference is here uncharged conductor, uncharged body brought in contact with charged conductor. In induction process, there is a without any touching, and here it is in contact. So this process involves the contact of charged object to a neutral object. Neutral means uncharged object. Okay, when an uncharged conductor is brought in contact with a charged conductor, charge is shared between the two conductors. That means, suppose this is an uncharged body, this is a charged, positively charged body. When these two are charged in contact, brought in contact, then this positive charges moves from here to this uncharged body. That means electrons or protons can move from this body to this body, or we can say that higher potential to lower potential. Okay, this is the conduction method. Okay. Now one questions come from this concept by charging. Two bodies are brought nearer, first step, and then they get separated. Then what is the charge in each body? This is a simple formula. Q equals to sum of charges by number of body. For example, suppose first body having charge Q and second body there is no charges present, that means zero charge. First they brought nearer and after that they get separated. Then after separation, the charge in each body, how can we calculate? Q equals to sum of charges. Sum of charges means Q plus 0 by 2 bodies are there, so by 2, that is Q by 2. So inside each body, the charge in each body it will be Q by 2 coulomb. Okay. Now second also be there. There's a 3 bodies are there. So after separation the charge, then this plus this by 3. So 22 by 3 coulomb in each body. Okay, clear? Now comes to the main topic of this chapter, or most important topic is that chapter is the Coulomb's law. In class 10 or 9 we studied the gravitational law, Newton's gravitational law. Little bit similar, just there in that law or gravitation Newton's law, we talks about two bodies. Here we talks about two charges, but concept is same. What is that law? When two charges are placed at a certain distance, suppose q1 and q2 are two charges and the separation between them is r. Now the one electrostatic forces acts between these two charges, either it will be attractive or the repulsive, that depends upon the nature of these charges, but here we consider two charges, q1 and q2. Okay, so electric force between two static point or static point charges. Static means stay in one point. Point charges means point charges. Why we consider point charges? Point charges mean it has no dimension. Okay, that's why we consider the point charges. So electric force between two static point charges is directly proportional to the product of the charges. So if we consider the force acting between these two charges is F. So first of all, F is directly proportional to Q1 into Q2 and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. So F proportional to 1 by r square, because it is inversely proportional. Now if we combine these two equation, F proportional to Q1 Q2 by r square, or F equals to small k q1 q2 by r square. Why we written over here small k? Because another one capital K also one is there, that's why we written over here small k. Okay, this is also small k. So F equals to small k q1 q2 by r square. So small k is a Coulomb's constant or proportionality constant, and its value is 9.10 to the power 9 Newton meter square per Coulomb square. But this value is fixed for k. Okay, this value is a fixed. So F equals to k q1 q2 by r square. The value of k equals to 9 into 10 to the power 9 Newton meter square per Coulomb square, and k is called Coulomb's constant. Okay, now from where we get that value of k? Okay, the one formula is there, k equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. 4 pi is a constant, we know that, but what is this epsilon naught? Epsilon naught is a permittivity of vacuum or free space. Permittivity of vacuum or free space, that means this is the from permittivity means the nature of the medium. Okay, so from this is a formula of or equation of k equals to small k equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Epsilon naught is a permittivity of vacuum or free space, and this epsilon naught is combination of electric field and magnetic field. We studied this epsilon naught, this formula, in magnetism chapter. Okay, then this is a combination of permeability and permittivity. Okay, so this formula we studied in magnetism chapter. Now you just remember it. Epsilon naught is a permittivity of a vacuum or free space, and its value is 8.85 into 10 to the power minus 12. So if we put this value over here, 1 by 4 pi into this one, then we get the value of k equals to 9 into 10 to the power 9 Newton meter square per Coulomb square. Okay, so that formula, Coulomb's formula, we can write equation 1, F equals to, in place of k we can write 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q1 q2 by r square. But remember, one condition is there. What is that condition? This formula, this is epsilon naught with 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q1 q2 by r square. This formula applicable only for free space, that means in air. If the medium between these two charges q1 and q2 is air, then we can apply this formula. But the medium is different, or any water, kerosene, glass, then this value will be changed, because epsilon naught is represent the permittivity of vacuum or free space. Free space means air. Now if we change the medium between two charges, either it will be kerosene, diesel, glass, water, then what we can write? Fm. Fm means force in that medium. Okay, that is equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon, not epsilon not applicable for in air or in free space, but here we write only epsilon q1 q2 by r square. What is epsilon? Epsilon also the permittivity of the medium, whatever the medium, the value of in that medium. So this value is different for different medium. If the glass, the epsilon value is different. If the kerosene is there, then the epsilon value is different. Clear? So if m equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon q1 q2 by r square. Now if we divide these two equation 2 and equation 3, what we get? F by Fm, that is equals to epsilon by epsilon naught. This ratio is written over here epsilon r. Okay, and this is denoted by capital K. That's why there in that space we write the small k. Okay, so the ratio of force in free space to the force in given medium, or the permittivity of the given medium to the permittivity of the free space, this ratio is denoted by capital K, and this capital K is called dielectric constant. This value also be different for different medium, and we know that as we know that the force is a vector quantity. Okay, so this value also be different. Okay, so this is a simple form of Coulomb's law. Now the vector form of Coulomb's law. This is very important topic because we also learn vector in class 11. Because force is a vector quantity, so we represent this equation in vector form also, because force is a vector quantity. How we represent the vector form of Coulomb's law? Suppose this is the x-axis, this is y-axis. Two charges q1 and q2. If we join a line from origin, O is the origin, r1 and r2 are the position vectors. We also studied what is a position vector. If we join one point with the origin, that line represents the position vector of that charge. So r1 and r2 is the position vector of q1 and q2. Okay. Now we know that F equals to simple equation, F equals to k q1 q2 by r square. In vector form, how we write? In vector form, because F is a vector quantity and r is a vector quantity. Charges are not the vector quantity. So F vector, that is equals to k q1 q2 by r square with r cap. This r cap means unit vector. We started the unit vector. Unit vector gives us a direction. Okay, so F vector equals to k q1 q2 by r square r hat or r cap. This is a unit vector, and we know that r cap equals to r vector by r. So we can write in place of r cap, if we write this one, so we can write k q1 q2 r hat by r cube. Okay, now this is an in general equation. Now when these two forces are placed like this way, once we consider the force apply on q1 due to q2, another one force apply on q2 due to q1. So we get two expression. First of all, force on q1 due to q2, force on q1 due to q2. Okay, so how we represent force on q1? So 1 is first we write 1 due to q2, so write 2 after that. So if 1 2, that is equals to k q1 q2, like this way, r12 vector by r12 cube, where r12 means r1 minus r2, r1 minus r2, and r12 cube equals to mod of r1 minus r1 minus r2 mod whole cube. And similarly we can write f21, that is a force on q2 due to q1. There here we just write r21 vector by r21 cube. Similarly r21 vector equals to r2 minus r1, the position of q2 with respect to q1, here position of q1 with respect to q2, and this one equals to mod of this cube. Okay, so these two are the vector form of Coulomb's law. Okay, now in place of this r cube we write this form. Okay, and in place of this r vector we write this one, r1 minus r2. So what we get, the ultimate formula, final formula, F12 equals to K Q1 Q2 R1 minus R2 by R1 minus R2 mod cube, and F21 equals to K Q1 Q2 R2 minus R1 by mod of R2 minus R1 whole cube. This are the vector form of Coulomb's law. So when the questions will come, please write down the or derive the vector form of Coulomb's law. So you have to write both equations, not one, because one force is acts upon one due to 2, another one we can consider force acted upon 2 q2 and due to q1. Okay, so r12 equals to r1 minus r2 and r12 cube equals to mod of r1 minus r2 the whole cube. So simply we can vector notation, we can write mod of f12, this is equals to mod minus of mod of f21. If we take mod, then these two expression equal to each other with a negative sign. So what is this? This f equals to minus f, action and reaction. Opposite of action is reaction. So this is a nothing but Newton's third law. So we say that Coulomb's law also obey Newton's third law. So if any questions is there, they prove that Coulomb's law obeyed Newton's third law, or prove Newton's third law from Coulomb's law. We derive this all this. Understand? Thank you.